So, welcome to the World Alliance of Qara'im weekly Torah study. I'm Yaakov ben Yisrael. Today we will be reading Parashath Tetzawweh. That's going to be Exodus 27, starting at verse 20. And hopefully we will get to chapter 30, verse 10, which will be the end of the parasha. Hopefully. We don't always do that. But I'll wait for a few minutes for people to show up. And in the meantime, I'll say I've got my picture, my Biblical Hebrew Picture Dictionary in this week. And I'll remove this so that you can see it. There you go. Now you can see the whole thing. And it's a pretty decent book. It's specific to Biblical Hebrew. It's not really concerned with modern Hebrew, but what it does, it takes all the Biblical Hebrew words and pairs them with a picture. And I thought that was pretty neat. So if you want one, it's available on Amazon. Shabbat Shalom, Nicola. Shabbat Shalom, Roberta. Thank you both for joining the program. Before we start, I want to basically say this will be my last weekly parasha that I'll do. I will probably make other videos and do other things, but this will be my last weekly parasha that I do. It takes a lot of time, a lot of preparation, and a lot of other things. And, I've been doing this for about a year, even before we started doing it on the World Alliance of Qara'im YouTube channel. And I've got videos that are more than a year old, but we only have maybe 20 views. And, I thought at one time that I should just let everyone be friends with me on Facebook. And there was one time where I had close to 3,000 friends. And I thought, well, that'd be pretty cool. Then I posted these videos on my Facebook page, and still only had about 20 people viewing them. And for me, it's more enjoyable. I have a group of friends that I have chats with during the week, and we go over the Torah, we go over Hebrew grammar, and it's a small group. It's to me, I can see the improvement. These guys are really interested in learning, and so I'll probably just spend more time with these guys. But Melech, he may continue to do it, and so that's on him if he wants to continue to do it. Me personally, I have come to the end of my run on this, so it's a little bit tiring. But anyway, that's that. The videos will still be there if you want to watch them. That's up to you. Not twist anyone's arm. But anyway, I just thought I'd let everyone know. Next Shabbat, there won't be a weekly parasha from me. So we are getting close to the 5-minute mark, and so I will get ready to read the parasha. We're going to begin in Exodus chapter 27, and we're going to start at verse 20. So here we go. Hopefully the sound is okay. Let me know if you have problem with the sound. I don't have a Bluetooth in, I don't have a microphone. I'm just using the audio settings from my laptop. So if in the course of the reading that the sound starts to get really bad, just start typing a 2. 1 means it's good, 2 means it's terrible, and I'll see you. All right, so here we go. Chapter 27, verse 20. وَأَتَى تِتْسَوَيْ es b'nei Yisrael وَيِطْحُ إِلَيْخَ شَمَن زَيْخ زَخ كَثِيث لَمَأُوْر وَحَعَلُوث نِر تَمِيد. And you should command the children of Israel that they will bring to you pure olive oil. Shemen zayit is olive oil. Zak is pure. Kathith means to be crushed or beaten. For the ma'or, for the light. To lihalot ner tamid. Halot, as I've said, is used in this. It literally means to bring up or to cause to ascend light in the lamp. But here it's talking about to light the menorah, and this is called tamid, or this is said to be tamid, which means as a perpetual thing. Verse 21, Be'ohel mo'ed mechutz beparochet asher al ha'iduf ya'aroch otho Aharon ubanav me'erev ad bocher lifnei Adonai hukat olam lidorotham me'es b'nei Yisrael. And that they're going to put this in the tent of meeting, outside of the parochet. The parochet, as we talked about last week, is the veil that separates the Aron Habarit, which is the Ark of the Covenant, from the area where you have the table, the shulchan, and the menorah. So Aaron and his sons shall set it in order or arrange it. Me'erev, which means from the evening, ad bocher, to the morning. And this means that the lamp will be lit in the evening, from the evening, and will be put out in the morning. And we see this in, I think it's the Chronicles, or maybe the Kings, but they were talking about how David set the Kohanim and the Levites in their services, and it talks about this, how they light the lamp in the evening and put it out in the morning. I don't know what you mean by ups. Shabbat Shalom, Rich Money. So hopefully the sound is okay. I see Roberta typed ops, so I'm not exactly sure what she means by ops. So if the sound's okay, just type a 1. If it's terrible, then type a 2. Rich, we are reading 27, and we're on 21 right now. Here kept going up. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe it's something with the Facebook. I don't know. All right. So they shall arrange it from evening to morning. This is talking about the lighting of the lamps. This will be an eternal ordinance throughout their generations from the children of Israel. That means a part of our tithes and offerings has to do with giving up the oil as well. So now we are in chapter 28, verse 1. وَأَتَّى هَقَرِبْ إِلَيْهَا إِتْ أَحَرُونَ أَخِيهَا وَأَتْبَنَعُ إِتْتَوْ מתוך בני ישראל לקחנו לי אהרון נדב ואביהו אלעזר ואיתמר בני Aharon. And so you bring near to you Aaron, your brother, and his sons with him from amongst the children of Israel to be my priest, or to serve me in the office of a priest. Aaron, of course, who is the brother of Moses, Nadav and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar, who are the four sons of Aaron. Verse 2. وعسيت بغد قادش لأحرون أخيك لخفض ولتفعارت. And you shall make sacred clothing for Aaron your brother, lechavod, which means for glory and also for beauty. Lechavod and also letif'areth. Verse 3. وأتى تدبر الكل حكم مليث أشر مليثي روح حكمة وعسو أت بغد أحرون لقدشو لكهنولي. And you shall speak, or you should speak, to all those who have a wise heart, who are wise-hearted, whom I've filled him with the spirit of wisdom, that they should make garments, Aaron's, or Begade Aharon, the garments, or Aaron's garments, to sanctify him, to set him in the office of a priest for me. Verse 4. وَأَيْلَي حَبِغَدِيم أَشَرْ يَعَسُوا خُوشٍ وَإِفَوْ وَمَعِيلُ وَخِثَنَث تَشْبَيْت مِتْنَافَث وَأَبْنَيْت وَعَسُوا بِغَدِ خُودَش لَأَحْرُونَ أَخِيهَا وَلِبَنَاو لِخَخَنَوْ لِي. And so these are the clothes that they shall make. Choshen is the breastplate. Then we have the ephod, which is similar to a tunic that goes over the shoulders, and a robe. Ma'il is a robe. Chethoneth is this is two words together. Chethoneth tashbeitz, and this is talking about possibly an embroidered coat or tunic. The word tashbeitz has to do with putting jewels in something. We'll read about this word in the coming verses. Misnefeth is the turban. Lisnof means basically to tie or to wrap. So this is a turban, and avnate is a girdle. And they shall make the sacred garments for Aaron, your brother, and for his sons, that they may serve me in the office of priest, the kahanoli. Verse 5. وهين يقحو إتحد زهاب وإتحد تخيلث وإتحد أرجمان وإتحد طلاعة الشني وإتحد شيش. And they shall take the gold and the blue as well as the purple and the crimson or the scarlet, however you want to say that, and sheish. Sheish is linen. Verse 6, وعسوءة إيفود زهاف تخيلت وأرجمان طلعت شني والشيش مشزار معسي خشيف. And they shall make the ephod, or the ephod, of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet, and of twisted or twined linen, which means the work of a or skillful, a skillful work. Verse 7, Shete Chetefov Choverov Yihelo Ilshene Kitzothal Wachubar, and two joined shoulders it shall have to the two ends, and they shall be adjoined. وخيشف أفدثو أشر على كمعسيه من منه يحيي زحاب تخيلت وأرجمان وثلاعت شني وشيش مصدار. And now this word cheshev is talking about the girdle. So the ephod itself will have something that will be tightened like a belt or a girdle. Which is upon it. It shall be made like it, of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet, and also this twined or twisted linen. Verse 9. ولقحت شتي أبني شحام وبتحت عليهم شموت بني إسرائيل. And you shall take two avnei shoham, which is talking about the onyx stones, two onyx stones. Upvetahta literally means you shall open, but this is talking about to inscribe something. So you shall inscribe or engrave upon it the names of the children of Israel. Now these are going to be two stones that are going to go in on the shoulders of the ephod. Shisha mishimothan al ha'ibn ha'ehath wa'eth shemot hashisha hanotharim al ha'ibn hashinith ketholelofam. And so you have 6 of their names upon the one stone, and the remaining 6 names upon the second stone according to their birth. مساء الخير شكرا لكم. مساء الخير عبد الغني. مرحبا. So well, he basically said good evening and thank you all. So, and I said good evening to him in response, and also welcome. So these names on the 2 onyx stones, my guess, now I don't know this for a fact, but it's to be put in there according to the order of birth. And so if I'm looking at the Kohen Gadol, who has these 2 stones on his shoulders, I would guess that since Hebrew is read from right to left, that the order of birth would begin with Reuben, which will be to my right, but on the left shoulder the ephod. So that's just my guess, and I don't know exactly which side the stones would have which names, but either way, that it basically says that the names will be put in the order of the birth. So Nicola asked, "Are there any illustrations of the comes in the bookshelf?" Yeah, let's look. The ephod. The only thing that is a bummer about this is that these are not um, color photos. So I don't know if you can see it, but here is the ephod. This with the. Let me see if I can get it a little bit better. And there is the ma'il. But I wish they were color. I guess it would get pretty expensive to make color, hand-drawn color photos of this or whatever. So verse 11, Ma'aseh Charash, Ma'aseh Charash Even, Petuch Chotam, تفتح את שתי האבנים על שמות בני ישראל מוסבות משבצות זהב תעשה אותם. So it'll be the work of a stone engraver, the engravings of a signet. So Chotam is a signet ring. So the names were only just written. They were written like you would write them on a signet ring. Now, the interesting thing about signet rings is that from what I see, or what I know, it could be different at that time, but a signet ring is used to stamp something, usually in wax or clay. I don't know if they used wax back in those days, but the signet ring is usually written as a mirror, meaning everything was done in reverse so that when you stamp it, it would actually be written correctly. All right. So it could be that the names were written just like you would read them, but it's also interesting that it could be written if it's the way most people would write a signet ring. It would be written in a mirrored fashion so that if you stamp it, then it would be legible. That's just a guess. I don't know. You shall inscribe the two stones according to the names of the sons of Israel. Musabbot mishbasot zahav, which actually means they shall be basically surrounded of golden fixtures. And this is the word we saw at a few verses earlier. The Tashbetz. What was that? Yeah. Kethoneth Tashbetz. This is the word Shabbat. The Shabbat means to basically embroider with jewels. And this is what we have here. Mishbetzot Zahab, which means the Mishbetzot are the fixtures that you set the stones in. And so they'll be made of gold, and so shall you make them. So, verse 12, وَسَمْتَ et שתי האבנים על חטפות האפוד אבני זיכרון לבני ישראל ונשא אהרון את שמותם לפני אדוני על שתי חטפיו לזיכרון. And so you shall set the two stones on the shoulders of the ephod as memorial stones of the children of Israel, and Aaron shall carry their names before Adonai on the two shoulders, Lizikaron, as a memorial. Now, this is interesting because we often talk about the Totafot. The Totafot are usually called tefillin by the rabbinical Jews, and they wear these boxes on their forehead and tie them on their arm. And but the Totafot is also called Zikaron in the book of Shemot when we talk about the Pesach and the days of unleavened bread, which we are told to tie them as well between our eyes and on our hands as a memorial. And so I've heard it said before that the reason why they actually have something specifically tied to the forehead and arm is because this is called a zikaron, and here we see that the stones are also a zikaron, and something that is carried, and it's a physical object. These are evnei zikaron, which means stones or memorial stones. And so while that's not specifically clear what the Totafot are, that you could understand them as being metaphoric, as most Karaites do, or you can think of it in this manner as being an actual physical object to tie on your forehead or your arm. Either way, there's no commandment not to make them. I mean, you can make the memorial in whatever way you want. It's not exactly explained how to make those memorials or how to tie them or whatever. And so it's definitely not forbidden to do it. So that's the end of the first aliyah. And now we will begin with the second aliyah in verse 13. And so here we have this word again, mishbesof, zahav, wasi, for mishbesof, zahav, and you shall make golden fixtures. This is this word where we get the word kathoneth tashbet. Same word here. Ushate shor shiroth zahav tahor migbalot ta'asei otam ma'asei avot ונתת את שרשרות העבותות al hamishbesof, and two golden or chains of pure gold. This word sharshirot or sharsheret is basically synonym with another word that we see often, which is shalsheleth, which means a chain. And so two chains of pure gold, midbaloth, means that they will be braided. You shall make them braided according to the work of a avot, which is talking about a cord. An avot is a cord. And you shall set the chains of the cords on the fixtures of gold. Verse 15, وعسيث خوش مشبات معسي خشيف كمعسي إفاض تعسن زحاف تخيلت وأرجمان والطلعات شني والشيش مشزار تعسي وثام. And you shall make a choshen mishpat, which literally means a judgment breastplate. A skillful work, like the work of the ephod, you shall make it of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet. Also of this twined linen, you shall make it. Verse 16. Ravu' yihyeh kaful, zeret arko was zeret rohbo. It shall be square and doubled. Kaful means to be doubled. its length shall be a zereth, which is talking about the length of the hand, and also its um, its length is a zereth, and its width is also uh, a uh, a a zereth, which is basically a span. Verse 17. ومن ليس ضوء من لؤة آذن أربعة تورين آذن تور all them pit ذا uvarekhet hatur ha'ehan. Now, a lot of these stones are really unidentifiable. It's really anybody's guess today what they are. But basically it says, and you shall fill them with setting stones or filling stones. These are uh, the the stones that we put into the choshen, into the breastplate. Uh, uh, 4 rows of stones. Now, the interesting thing about this, and we see this very few times in the Tanakh, we have Arba'ah, which means 4, Turim Avin, which should be in the construct, technically. So it should be Ture Avin, or 4 rows of stones. But it's not. We see that also with Elohim, even though it's in the construct, it's still written fully in the plural. Why it's like that, I have no clue. But anyways, you have 4 stones per row, a tour of the row. In the first row, you shall have Ovum, which some say is a ruby, and it could be because the word Adam is considered red by some. Then we have Pitha. Pitha is said to be topaz, and then we have Varechet, which is said to be beryl, and that's in the first row. Verse 18. وحتور حشنيه نوفر sapir ويهلون. And so in the second row, so there's 3 stones per row, four rows. So in the second row, you'll have Nothich, which they say is turquoise, Sapir, which is where we get the word sapphire from, and also Yahalom, Yahalom, which is a guess that it could be a diamond. Verse 19, وحتور حشلشي لاشم شبو وأحلامة. And in the third row, you shall have Leshem, which they say is Jacinth, Shivo, which some say is Agat or Agate, and then you have Ahlama, which is considered to be Jasper. Verse 20, وحتور حربيني ترشيش وشحام ويشفي مشوبة سيم زحاب يحيو بملو أوثام. And so the fourth row, you'll have an emerald, which is what they say Tarshish is. Tarshish. Shoham, which we believe are onyx. That's where we have the Ebony Shoham, the onyx stones. Then we have Yashafeh, which is jade, according to some people. And they vary depending on the lexicon you look into. Meshubatzim Zahav, which means they'll be enclosed in gold. These are the fixtures. So they will be enclosed in gold according to their setting. So when they're setting, they'll be set in these settings or enclosures of gold. Verse 21. We'll have it where העבדים תהיינה על שמות בני ישראל, 12 על שמותם, בתוכחותם, איש על שמו תהיינה ל12 Shabbat. And so the stones shall have, or they shall be, according to the names of the children of Israel, talking about the 12, and it will be according to their names, and engraved like a signet, each according to his name. They shall be according to the 12 tribes. So not only were the Evnei Shulchan, which were the 2 onyx stones on the shoulders, to have 6 names, 1 on each stone with the names of the tribes, but then you'll have 12 stones in the Choshen, or the breastplate, and each stone would be with the names of the tribes. And I'm guessing as well that this should be arranged from right to left as we would look at it, if we were looking at the Choshen, according to the birth to the sons of Israel. So 23. وعسيت على الحخوشن شتي تبعوث الزهاv ونفقت شتي تبعوث على شتي كسوت حخوشن. And you shall make on the choshen, so on this breastplate, you shall make 2 golden rings, and you shall set the 2 rings on the 2 sides of the choshen. So you'll have the rings on the 2 sides of the breastplate. ונתת את שתי עבותות הזהב על שתי הטבעות אל כסות החושן. And you shall set the 2 golden cords on the 2 rings in the 2 sides, or in the sides of the choshen, of the breastplate. Verse 25. وאת שתי כסות שתי העבותות תיתן על שתי המשבצות ונתת על כתפות האפוד עיר מול פניו. And so and the 2 sides of the 2 cords you shall set on the 2 sides of the fixtures, and you shall set them on the shoulders of the ephod in its front. وعسيت شتي تبعوث زهاv ושמת אותם על שני קצות החושן על שפתו אשר אל עבר האפוד ביתha. And you shall make 2 golden rings, and you shall set them on the two sides, or the 2 edges of the choshen, al sefatho, on its border, on the edge of the choshen, which is on the other side, or the inward side of the ephod. Okay. وعسيت شتي تبعوث الذهب ونتت אותם על שתי כתפות האפוד מלמטה ממול פניו לעומת מחברתו ממעל לחשב האפוד. And you shall make 2 golden rings, and you shall set them on the two shoulders of the ephod underneath, in front of it, or towards its front. Opposite its coupling, above. Okay, and this is done to basically cinch or to tie or tighten the ephod. ويركسوا את החושן מתבעותיו אל טבעות האפוד בפתיל תכלת לחיות על חשב האפוד ולא יזח החושן מעל האפוד. And they shall bind the breastplate with its rings to the rings of the ephod. So you have two golden rings on the ephod, two golden rings on the choshen, and then you're going to basically bind this with a blue cord. And this is interesting because that's what we also make the tzitzit out of. In the tzitzit, you have this patil techelet. And so it shall be on the girdle of the ephod, so that the choshen does not slip from the ephod. And so the point of these rings and these bindings is to hold the two pieces together while the Kohen Gadol is wearing the ephod and the choshen so that it doesn't slip off. Verse 29, and for anyone who's joining us now, we're in Exodus 28, and I'm starting verse 29. ונשא אהרון את שמות בני ישראל בחושן המשפט על ליבו בבואו אל הקודש לזיכרון לפני אדוני תמיד. And so Aaron shall carry, or shall bear, or carry, same thing, the names of the children of Israel on the Choshen HaMishpat, which means the breastplate of judgment, on his heart, as he's going into the Kodesh, into the sanctuary, as a memorial before Adonai Tamid, which means always. And it's interesting because we see that, I'm not sure if it's in this parasha or if it was in one before, or maybe the next one, I can't remember right now. But it talks about the Kohanim who carry the iniquity, the avon of the children of Israel, and they also carry the names of the Israelites. And when we read, I think it's Isaiah 52, they always say, "Oh, this is Jesus, blah blah blah. This is all garbage." The only person who is ever said, according to the Torah, to carry the iniquity of the Israelites was the Kohen Gadol. And so I always found that to be interesting. So here we have the names of the children of Israel who will be carried on the breastplate of judgment, going into the most holy place. Usually he goes into the Kodesh, which is, by some accounts, the Kodesh itself is the area where the Shulchan and the menorah are, and he stands before the Parashath. And so what he does is, when you have a sin offering, he dips his finger into the blood and he sprinkles it 7 times towards the Parashath. Once a year, he goes inside the veil and he actually sprinkles that upon the Ark of the Covenant itself. Verse 30, ונתת אל חושן המשפט את האורים ואת התומים והיו על לב אהרון בבואו לפני אדוני ונשא אהרון את משפט בני ישראל על ליבו לפני אדוני תמיד. And so you shall set on the the breastplate of the judgment, the Urim and the Tumim, which means literally the lights and perfections. And they shall be upon the heart of Aaron as he comes before Adonai, and Aaron shall carry the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart in the presence of Adonai always. And now, what are these Urim and Tumim? The only thing that we know in this context that would be put in the breastplate itself were the stones. Okay, so you have 4 rows, 3 stones each, according to the names of the children of Israel, and those are the Urim and Tumim. And so later, when we see that the Israelites were going in, according to the Torah, they had to divide the land by lot, by Gorah. These are the Gorah. They have the names. And so when it says they went to ask the priest, in fact, at the ordination of Joshua ben Nun, it says he would ask at the mouth of the Kohen Gadol when they go in, talking about going to war, going out to war and coming back in. And so when you see in the book of Joshua that Joshua is sending the different tribes in to take possession and wage war against these Canaanite people, he was consulting the Kohen Gadol, who had the Urim and Tumim, and these are the lots. Now there's a lot of guess about it, but basically, the way I understand it, are these stones would be put in a bag, and they would reach in and pull out a stone, and it would have the name of the tribe that goes up. And that's how they divided the land by lot. And so that is the end of the second Aliyah. And so now we begin the third Aliyah. And this will be chapter 28, verse 31. وَعَسِيثَ مَعِيرْ حَإِفَوْض خَلِلْ تَخَيْرَتْ. And you shall make the robe of the ephod completely of blue. 32. وحيا في رشو بالتقو صفا يهي لفي سبيب مع سي أوريخ كفي سحرة يهي لو يكريا. And so there shall be P Rosho Safan. So it basically is saying there shall be at the top an edge, and it says it will be basically around according to the work of a weaver, oreg is a weaver, and it shall be made like a Zachara. Zachara in the Tanakh is talking about chainmail, or it could be what's called I'm not sure if it's called a circus or a kirkus. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that word. But basically what that is a piece of leather that was used as armor. It was wore up under a tunic, and just like the chainmail. And so basically at the top of this or the top edge of this robe of the ephod, you have basically a seam, and it's going to be a woven seam, and it's going to be kind of like how you would make armor, so that it wouldn't tear. And basically, that's what that means. So verse 33. وعسيث على شلاو رماني تخيلت وأرجمان وفضاعة شنين على شلاو سبيب وفعماني زحاب بتخام سبيب. And you shall make on its shulav, on its hem. And it's interesting, this word has been used in various ways in the Tanakh. But here it means the hand. I won't get into the other uses of it because This isn't the time and place, but usually, I'll just say this, usually it's used of the area around the loins, and even in some places it's talking about the pubic area. But here it's talking about the hem of the garment. So you shall make on the hem of the garment of this robe, which means basically pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet. And you shall make it on the lower hem around, and as well as paramon. Paramon means a bell of gold, and they shall be in the midst, in their midst, all around. So what does it mean? Verse 34. Paramon zahab warimon. Paramon zahab warimon. Al shulei hama'il sabi. So you shall have a bell, a golden bell, and then you will have this pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate. Okay, and that'll be around the edge of the hem of the coat or the robe. Verse 35. وحيا على أهرون لشريت ونشمع قوله ببوء القدش לפני אדוני ובשריתו בלא ימות. And it shall be upon Aaron as he ministers, and its voice or its sound, the sound of these bells shall be heard as he goes into the Kodesh, which is, like I said, this could be talking about when he goes into the first chamber of the actual Ochel Moed, which is where the Shulchan and the menorah would be sitting before Adonai, and as he goes out, so that he will not die. And there's been lots of legends made about why he would die. We don't know. I've also heard. In fact, it tells Aaron. I think it's in Leviticus when it says to tell Aaron that he shouldn't come always before the ark itself, but only once a year, so that he don't die. And there are several reasons why he could die. What that has to do with the bells, that's anyone's guess. But that's what he had to have. Verse 36. وعصيت السيد زحته وفتحت عناه فتوحي خوفا قادش لأدونai. And you shall make a seat zahav tahor. Now, seats is used talking about a plate or a flower or a tuft of pure gold, and you shall engrave upon it also the engraving of a chacham. Could be reversed. I'm not exactly sure. And it shall say Kodesh LaAdonai. Verse 37. وصمت أوثو على فسيل تخيلت وحيا على حمس نافث إرمول بني حمس نافث يهيه. And you shall set it, the seats you shall set on a cord or lace of blue, and it shall be on the turban. Okay, and it shall be in the front part of the turban. Verse 38. وحيا على مسح أحرون ونسى أحرون عظام حقدشين. And here's what I was talking about earlier about carrying the iniquity. أشر يقدشوا بني إسرائيل لكل متنوت قدشيهم وها على مسحه تمييز لرسون لهم لفني أدونai. And it shall be upon the forehead of Aaron. So the misnefeth actually is like it is the turban. On this turban you shall have the seats, which will be written Kodesh LaAdonai, and it will be when it's put on, it would actually hang on this cord of Tchelet on the forehead of Aaron, or whatever Cohen shall be serving. And it says, when the son Aharon es Avon HaKodeshim. And so Aaron shall bear or carry the iniquity of the Kodeshim, which means the sacred offerings, as he Asher Yachatishu Bnei Yisrael, that the children of Israel caused to be sanctified, which means they give them up according to the gifts of their sacred offerings, and it shall be upon his forehead always, to be acceptable for them in the presence of Adonai. Verse 39. Washibatzta hakethoneth sheish, wa'asita misnefeth sheish, wa'avneit ta'aseh ma'aseh rokeim. And you shall, now this is this word again, Shabbat, which means it could mean embroidered, or it could be to make it jeweled. And you shall, I'm gonna just say it's embroidered here. You shall embroider the coat, or the kethometh of linen, and you shall make the turban also of linen, and the belt you shall make according to the work of the rokeim. And the rokeim is also someone who's an embroiderer, so that's a needlework. Verse 40. ולבני אהרון תעשה כותנות, ועשית להם אבנתים ומגבעות תעשה להם לכבוד ולתפארת. And so for the sons of Aaron, you shall also make coats or tunics, and you shall make belts for them, as well as mikba'ot. Now, mikba'ot is also these caps that they will wear. The misnefet is literally a turban. It comes from lisnof, which means to wrap something. Here we have mikba'ot. Mikba'ah is something that sits on the top. Giba means the height of something. And it's also for the same purpose that the clothing for Aaron would be made, lechavod uletiferet, for glory, and also for beauty, or for honor and for beauty, however you want to. وَهِلْبَشْتَ أُثَامْ את אהרון אחיך ואת בניו איתו ומשחת אותם ומלאת את ידם וקידשת אותם וכהנו לי. And so you shall dress them, talking about the garments, you shall dress them on Aaron and your brother, and also his sons, and you shall anoint them, and you shall fill their hands, which means you're filling the hand means making them liable to actually fulfill the service. And you shall sanctify them, and they shall serve me as priests. وعسي لهم מכנסייבת לכסות בשר עירוע ממאזניים ועד ירכיים יחיו. And make for them מכנסייבת, which literally means covering, or linen coverings, to cover the flesh of their yirua, which is talking about their pubic regions, from the two two loins, and from the two loins, the Mathanayim, to the Yerachayim, to the thighs. So basically, they're going to be like uh, uh, pants or coverings, whatever you want to say. They're going to go from the waist to the knee. They're not going to go to the ankle. وحيو على الأحرام وعلى البنات بضعام الأوهل الموعد أو بغشتم المزبح للشريط بقولش ولو يسؤوا عبون وميثو حقت علام لو ulizara'u aharav. And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons as they enter into the tent of meeting, or as they come near to the altar to serve in the Kodesh, which would be in the sanctuary. And they don't bear iniquity, and they die. This is an eternal ordinance for him as well as his descendants after him. And that is the end of the third Aliyah. And we'll begin the fourth Aliyah in chapter 29, verse 1. So for all who are joining, I'm in Exodus chapter 29, starting at verse 1. وَزَيْ هَدَّبَارْ أَشَرْ تَعَسِرِهِمْ لِقَدَشْ أُثَامْ لِقَحِنْ لِي لقح بار إحاد بن بقار وإليم شنايم تميمين. And this is the thing that you shall do for them, to sanctify them, to set them, or that they may serve me as a priest. Take one bull and two rams without blemish. Verse 2. وَلَحِم مَتْصُوف وَحَلُّوف مَتْصُوف بَلُولُوف بَشَمَن أُرِقِكَي مَتْصُوف مِشُحِيم بَشَامن صولف حِتِيم تَعَسِيوتام. Lechem matzot, which is unleavened bread. Halot matzot, which is basically unleavened cakes, which we mixed with oil. And also unleavened wafers, which will be anointed with oil. They will be made of solat chetim, which is basically wheat flour. Verse 3. ونسكت أثام على سل إحاد وهكرفت أثام بتصال وإتحبار وإتشني حائلين. And so you shall put them on one basket. Sal is a basket. And you shall bring them near with the basket. Also the bull and the two rams. Verse 4. وإذ أحرون وأثبناه تقريب البيتخ أوهل المعيد ورحتت أثام بماين. And Aaron and his two sons you shall bring near to the door of the tent of meeting, and you shall wash them with water. ولقحت إت حبقدين وهلبشت إت أحرون إت كتونت وإت مئيل حائفوت وإت حائفوت وإت حخوشن وأفدت له بحيش الحائفات. And so you shall take the clothing, and you shall clothe Aaron with the kathunath, which is the coat or the tunic, also the robe of the ephod itself, and the breastplate. And you shall basically gird him or tie it upon him with the girdle of the ephod. Verse 6, وَسَمْتَ هَمِثْنَفِث al orosho, وَنَفَقْتَ et neizer hakodesh al mitznafith. And so you shall set the misnefith, which is the turban, upon his head, and you shall set the nazer of the kodesh. Now, some people call this a crown, could be a crown, but this is talking about the seats. This is the only thing I can think is talking about. And you shall set it upon the turban, because that's what we were told earlier that they had to make, was the seat, and it had to be hung on this turban with a blue cord. Verse 7, وَلَقَحْتَ et shemen hamishcha وَيَسَخْتَ عَلَى أُرُشُهُ وَمَشَخْتَ أُوتَهُ. And you shall take the anointing oil, and you shall pour it upon his head, and you shall anoint him. Now, this is how anointing is done according to the Torah. And after this act, we have what's called the Mashiach, that which is anointed. And that's the point and the purpose of this Shemen HaMishcha, which means the anointing oil. That's how David was anointed. That's how Solomon was anointed, with this anointing oil. Interesting thing is, according to the Torah, it says that this oil, the only people that were allowed to be anointed with it was Aaron and his sons, as well as the instruments of the Mishkan. And it says anyone who put this on a zar. The zar, according to the Torah, when it talks about the sacred things, is defined as anyone not from the descendants of Aaron. And we see that definition in the narrative of Korah. They were to take their censers, and they had to be melted down and set. Hang on, I have to reset something. All right, well, looks like Facebook just dropped me from that, so doesn't seem to be streaming in Facebook anymore, but that's okay. It's still streaming on the YouTube channel, hopefully. But anyway, so that's how you anoint somebody, is with the Shemen HaMishcha. Verse 8, وَإِثْبَدَعُ تَخْرِيف وَهِلْبَشْتَمْ كُتَنَوْف. And so his sons you shall bring near, and you shall also dress them with the coats or the tunics. وَهَدَرْتَ أُتَمْ أَبْنَيْتْ أَهَرُونَ وَبَنَاهُ وَخَبَشْتَ لَحِمْ مِدْبَعُوت وَحَيَّثَ لَحِمْ كَهُنَ لَخُقَّاتْ أُلَامْ وَمِلَيْثَ يَدْ أَهَرُونَ وَيَدْ بَنَاهُ. And so you shall gird them with the belts, Aaron as well as his sons. And it says, and you shall tie for them mikba'oth. So we see that the misnefeth is talking about a turban, is something that was wrapped on the head. And so here is clarified that the mikba'oth, the hats that the sons of Aaron would also wear, would be also tied. And they shall be for them as, and it shall be for them as an eternal priesthood, and you shall feel the hands of Aaron and the hands of the sons, which basically means you're putting them in service. Verse 10, وَهِكْرَفْتَ إِذْ حَبَّارْ لِثْنَيْ أُوهِلْ مُعِيد وَسَمَخْ أَهَرُونَ وَبَنَاهُ إِتْ يَدَيْهِمْ عَلْى أُرُوشِ حَبَّارْ. And you shall bring the bull before the tent of meeting, And Aaron and his sons shall set their hands upon the head of the bull. Verse 11. وشحقت את הפר לפני אדוני פסח אוהל מועד. And you shall kill or sacrifice the bull before Adonai at the door of the tent of meeting. Verse 12. ולקחת מדם הפר ונתת על קורנות המזבח באצבעיך ואת כל הדם תשפוך אל יסוד המזבח. And you shall take the blood of the bull, or of the blood of the bull, and you shall set it upon the horns of the altar with your finger. and the rest of the blood, or all of the blood, you shall spill out at the bottom of the altar, the Yesod HaMizbeach, which is basically the foundation of the altar itself. Verse 13. ולקחת את כל החלב המכסה את הקרב ואת היוצרת על הכבד ואת שתי הכליות ואת החלב אשר עליהן והכתרת המזבחה. And you shall take the fat, which is covering the innards, as well as the appendage of the liver, and the two kidneys, and the fat which is upon them, and you shall burn them on the altar. Hiktarta literally means you shall turn them into smoke. You shall cause them to smoke upon the altar. Verse 14. وإذ بثار حبار وإذ عرو وإذ بيرشو تشرف بعيش مخوت لمحنه حتى. And the flesh of the bull, as well as its skin or its hide, and its pirushot, which means basically its dung, you shall burn in fire outside of the camp. It is a sin offering. Verse 15. وإذ هa'ayil ha'ihав tikach وسمخو أهرون ובניו את ידיהם על ראש ha'ayil. And the one ram you shall take, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands upon the head of the ram. Verse 16. وشحقت את העayil ולקחת את דמו وزرقت على המזבח סביב. And you shall slay or sacrifice the ram, and you shall take of its blood, or you shall take its blood, and you shall basically sprinkle it or pour it out around the altar. Verse 17. وإذ هa'ayil تنتيح لنيثحو ورحست كربو وكرعو ونفت على نثحو وعلى أرشو. And the ram itself you shall basically split into its parts, and you shall wash its insides and its legs, and you shall set the parts and its head together. وهختارت את كل העayil המזבחה עולה הוא לאדוני ריח ניחוח איש לאדוני הוא. And you shall basically turn the ram into smoke upon the altar. It is an olah, which literally means an ascent offering, but it's talking about a completely burnt fire offering for Adonai. Riach nehoah, which means a sweet smoke, a fire offering for Adonai it is. And that is the end of the fourth aliyah. And now we will begin the fifth aliyah. This is chapter 29 of Exodus, and we're starting now in verse 19. ולקחת את העיר השני, ושמח אהרון ובניו את ידיהם על ראש העיר. And you shall take the second ram, and Aaron and his sons shall set their hands upon it, upon the head of the ram. Verse 20. وشحت את העين, ולקחת מדמו, ונפת על תנוך אוזן אהרון ועל תנוך אוזן בניו הימנית, ועל בוהן ידם הימנית, ועל בוהן רגלם הימנית, וזרקת את הדם על מזבח סביב. And so you shall kill, slay, or sacrifice the ram, and you shall take of its blood, and you shall put it upon the lobe, it's going to be the right lobe of Aaron, as well as his sons, and upon the bohen, which is the big finger of their right hand, and also the bohen, which is the big toe of their right foot. And the blood you shall basically pour out or sprinkle it around the altar. Verse 21. ולקחת מן הדם אשר על המזבח ומשמן המשחה, וחיזית על אהרון ועל בגדיו ועל בניו ועל בגדי בניו איתו, וחדש הוא ובגדיו ובניו ובגדי בניו איתו. And so you shall take from the blood which is on the altar, and from the anointing oil, and you shall sprinkle it upon Aaron, and upon his clothing, upon his sons, and upon the clothing of his sons with him. And you shall and so his clothing, he and his clothing, and the clothing of his sons and his sons with him shall be sanctified or consecrated. Verse 22. ولقحت من העين החيلة והעלייה ואת החيلة המכסה את הקרב ואת יופרת הכבד ואת שתי הכליות ואת החלב אשר עליהן ואת שוק הימין כי אל מילואים הוא. And you shall take from the ram the fat and the tail. This is the fat tail called an aliyah, which you're not allowed to eat, and also the fat that covers the innards and the appendage of the liver and the two kidneys and the fat which are upon them, along with the right shoulder, because it is a ram of miluim, which means basically to fill. Here it's talking about the office of priest, and then so the consecration. So this ram is used to consecrate them as priests. Verse 23. وخكار لحم أحد وحلت لحم الشمن أحد ورقيق أحد متسال حمتصوف أشر لفني أدوناي. And one loaf or disc or even a talent of bread. Kikar is used, it literally means a disc, but it could mean just a loaf. One loaf of bread, and the challah, which is the ringed bread, which has the oil that was mixed in it, and also the wafer. Now, the wafer was anointed, the ring was mixed with oil. The challah was mixed with oil. So I'm getting a notification here that I'm no longer able to stream to Facebook. So I'll go ahead and delete that on Facebook. All right, so everyone on Facebook, I apologize. I don't know what the problem is, but I just lost the connection. Anyway, so the 1 loaf of bread, a ring of the oiled bread, and 1 wafer, which is in the basket of the unleavened bread, which is before Adonai, verse 24. وَصَنْتَ هَقُولْ عَلْ كَبِّي أَهَرُونَ وَعَلْ كَبِّي بَنَاهُ وَحِنَفْتَ أُثَامْ تَنُوفَ لِفْنِي أَدَونَي. And you shall set all of it upon the palm of Aaron and upon the palms of his sons, and you shall wave them as a wave offering before Adonai. Verse 25. وَلَقَحْتَ أُثَامْ مِيَدَّامْ وَهِكْتَارْتَ هَمِزْبَيْخَ الْحَعُلَى لَرِيَخْ نَهُوَخْ لِفْنِي أَدَونَي إِشَّهُ لَأَدَونَي. And so you shall take them from their hands, and you shall turn them into smoke on the altar with the olah as a pleasing smell before Adonai. It is a fire offering for Adonai. Verse 26. ולקחת את החזה מאל המילואים אשר לאהרון והנפת אותו תנופה לפני אדוני והיה לך למנח. And so you shall take the breast. The chazeh is breast. We call it basically like a brisket from the ram of consecration, which was for Aaron, and you shall wave it as a wave offering before Adonai, and it shall be for you as a portion, the manah, as a portion. Verse 27, وَكِدَّشْتَ et chazeh hatanufa et shoch hateruma asher hunaf وأشر حرام מאל המילואים מאשר לאהרון ומאשר לבנה. And basically it says you shall sanctify the breast of the wave offering and the shoulder of the heave offering, which is waved and which is heaved from the ram of consecration, which was for Aaron and which was also for his sons. So these are consecrated offerings. وَهَيَا لِأَهَرُونَ وَلِبَنَاهُ لَحُوق עולם מאת בני ישראל כי תרומה הוא ותרומה יהיה מאת בני ישראל מזרחי שלמיהם תרומתם לאדוני. And they shall be for Aaron and for his sons as an eternal ordinance from the children of Israel, for it is a heave offering. And it shall be a heave offering from the children of Israel from their peace offerings or peace sacrifices. It's their heave offering to Adonai or for Adonai. Verse 29. ובגדי הקודש אשר לאהרון יהיו לבניו אחריו למושך בהם ולמלא בהם את ידם. And the sacred clothing which belonged to Aaron, they shall be for his sons after him, to be anointed with them or in them, and to consecrate or to fill their hands, basically, which means basically to set them in service as priests after him. Verse 30, Shivat Yamim Yilbasham הכהן, תחתו מבניו, אשר יבוא אל אוהל מועד לשרת בקודש. So 7 days, the priest, who shall be in his place from his sons, shall wear them, talking about the sacred clothing that belonged to Aaron personally, when he comes into the tent of meeting to minister in the holy place. Verse 31, وَإِذْ أَيْلْ حَمِلُئِيم تِرْكَفْ وَفِشَلْتَ أَتْ بِسَرْعُ بَمَخُمْ قَدُوش. And the ram of the consecration you shall take, and you shall boil its flesh in a sacred place. Verse 32. And for everyone joining, we are now in Exodus 29, starting at, and I'm now on verse 32. وأخل أهرون ובניו את בשר העיל ואת הלחם אשר בצל, Pesach Ohel Moed. And Aaron and his sons shall eat the flesh of the ram and the bread that is in the basket before the tent, or at the door of the tent of meeting. 33. وأخلوا أثام أشر كبار بهم למלא את ידם לקדש אותם, וזר לא יאכל כי קודש הם. And they shall eat them, those things by which they have made atonement, to consecrate them, or to fill their hands and to consecrate them. And a stranger shall not eat, because they are sacred. Now, again, this word zar is defined in the Torah as anyone who's not from the descendants of Aaron. And that's only in the context of the sanctuary and the priesthood and the sacred things. Verse 34. وإن يوثر من بصار حملوئين ومن هاللحم عد حبوخر وصرفت את הנותר באש לא יאכל כי קודש הוא. And if anything of the flesh of the ram, or the meat of consecration, the ram of consecration, or of the bread shall remain until the morning, then you shall burn that which remains with fire. It shall not be eaten because it is sacred. Verse 35. وعسيت لأهرون ולבניו ככל אשר ציוויתי אותך שבעת ימים תמלא ידם. And so shall you do to Aaron and his sons, according to all that I have commanded you. On 7 days you shall fill their hands, or basically consecrate them. This is talking about the 7 days that they be set aside and in their clothing to consecrate them into the office of a priest. Verse 36. ופר חטאת תעשה ליום על הכיפורים והתית על המזבח ככפרך עליו ומשכת אותו לקדשו. And in one bull you shall prepare each day as an atonement, a kippurim, or a covering, and literally means you shall cleanse. Usually, the word chataf means to sin, but here in this context, it's talking about cleansing the altar, and you shall atone for it, and you shall anoint it to sanctify it. שבעת ימים תכפר על המזבח וקידשת אותו והיה המזבח קודש קודשים כל הנוגע במזבח יקדש. 7 days you shall atone for the altar, and you shall sanctify it. And the altar shall be kodesh kodeshim, which means a very sacred thing. All who approach the altar shall be holy. And that is the end of the 5th aliyah. And now we will begin the 6th aliyah. This is in Exodus chapter 29, starting at verse 38. وَزَيْ أَشِرْ تَعَسَيْ عَلْ حَمِزْبَيْخ كِبَسِيم بَنَيْ شَنَا شَنَيْم لَيَوْم تَمِيز. And this is what you shall prepare for the altar. Kivasim, B'nai Shana, Shanayim Liyam, lambs of a year old, 2 for each day as a tamid. This is a continual offering. Et hachebes ha'ehad ta'aseh b'vocher, ואת הכבש השני תעשה בין הערביים. The one lamb you shall prepare in the morning, and the second lamb you shall prepare between the evenings, which is another way of saying ba'erev, which is in the evening. وإسرون الصولة بلو بشمن خفيف ريبة حين وَنَيْسَخ رَبِيت حَخِينَ يَعْيَنْ the keves ha'eha, and a tenth of solid, which is this flour, which will be mixed with beaten oil, a fourth of a hin, and a libation, which is a fourth of a hin of wine, for each, or for the one lamb. وَإِذْ هَكَذَا هَشَيْنِي تَعَسَيْ بَيْنَ أَرْبَعِينَ كَمِنْحَةَ بَوْخَرْ وَخِنِسْقَى تَعَسَيْ لَهْ لَرِيَخْ نِخُوَخْ إِشْلَ أَلُونَيْ. And the second lamb you shall offer, or you shall do this between the evening or evening, according to the mincha of the morning, which means basically what we just read earlier for the first. You shall do it the same way. And it's a drink offering, or it's a libation offering that you shall make also for it. Same libation that was made in the morning. And it shall be a sweet savor, a fire offering for Adonai. Olat tamid lidorotechem, petach ohel moed lifnei Adonai, asher iwaed lechem shama. Ledaber elecha sham. It is a continuous burnt offering throughout the generations at the door of the tent of meeting before Adonai, where I will meet you, Iwa'id Lechem, where I will meet with you, to speak with you there. Verse 43. So the question is the fact that whatever touches the altar becomes holy the reason why some offenders later on fled to the altar and grabbed the horns, or in order to unsuccessfully save themselves from execution? Now, according to rabbinic halakha, the sanctuary or the whole sacred thing, the altar itself, makes someone holy if you touch it. I say this is incorrect because Yikdash means somebody shall be holy. Doesn't mean to necessarily make them sacred or holy. And also, if touching a sacred object will render you sacred, or which would really be clean, because sanctity and ritual cleanness are somewhat equated. Then, by when we read about the first sanctification of the Israelites back in Exodus chapter 19, when they came to Mount Sinai and they were preparing themselves to meet God, he basically says that they should sanctify themselves for 3 days and be ready for the third day. They should wash themselves, which means they should be ritually clean, and they should not come near to a woman. And the reason why they wouldn't come near to a woman is either for sex, which would render someone ritually unclean, or possibly the woman would be menstruating or unclean herself, having given birth. And the ritual uncleanness, the contamination, which is called tameh, in certain instances are passed by touch. For instance, a woman who's in her blood, if you touch her, you're unclean. If a man himself has a single discharge, even if he spits on you, you become unclean by contacting that spit. And so, if a sanctity was passed along by touch, then it makes no sense to stay away from a woman, because if someone's sanctified and I touch him, or something's sanctified and I touch it, then I become ritually clean automatically by touch, and that's not what we see. We don't see sanctity transferred by touch, but we do see uncleanness, ritual uncleanness, that is passed and transferred by touch. That's my opinion. Verse 43. ونعادتي شامة لبني إسرائيل ونقداش بكبودي. And I will meet there with the children of Israel, ونقداش بكبودي, and it shall be sanctified because of my honor or my glory. وكدشتي את אוהל מועד ואת המזבח ואת אהרון ואת בניו אקדש לכהן לי. And so I will sanctify the tent of meeting and the altar, and Aaron and his sons I will sanctify to act as priests for me. وشكنتي בתוך בני ישראל وحييתי لهم לאלוהים. And I shall dwell amongst the children of Israel, and I will be a God for them. Verse 46, وَيَدَعُوا كِي أَنِي أَدُونَي إِلَهِهِمْ أَشَرْ هُتْسِيتِي أُوثَام مِئَرَث مِصْرَيِم لِشُخْنِي بِتُخَم أَنِي أَدُونَي إِلَهِهِمْ. And so they will know that I am Adonai their God, who brought them out from the land of Egypt. As I dwell amongst them, I am Adonai their God. And this is the end of the 6th Aliyah. And now we begin the 7th. It looks like I lost my YouTube account as well. Anyway, I'll keep on this. Hopefully someone's still there. So the 7th Aliyah begins in Exodus chapter 30, verse 10. Chapter 30, verse 1. وعسيت مذبح مختار كثورث عسي شتيم تعسي وثور. And you shall make an altar for burning incense of acacia wood. You shall make it. Verse 2. Anna orko وأما رحبه ربوعيه وأمثايم قمثه من قرنطاو. Its length shall be a cubit, and its width shall be a cubit. It shall be square. 2 cubits will be its height, and its horns shall be made of it. Verse 3, وسبيثا أوثو زحف tahor et gago وet kirothao saviv وet karnothao وعسيت lo zer zahab sarif. And you shall overlay it with pure gold. Its top, or its roof, gog means the roof, its walls all around, as well as its horns. And you shall make for it a rim of gold around. Ushitei tabba'ot zahav ta'aselo متاحت للزيرو على شتي سلعوثاو تعاسي على شني سداو وحياة لبدين لسيت أوثو بهيما. And 2 golden rings you shall make for it, and they shall be under its rim, on the 2 sides, and you shall make and you shall make on its 2 sides, and they shall be housing for the poles by which you shall carry them. Verse 5. وعسيت et habbadim عدسي shittim وسفيت otham zahab. And you shall make the poles of acacia wood, and you shall overlay them with gold. ونفت أوثو لفني הפרוכת أشر על ארון העדות לפני הכפורת أشر על העדות أشر אוהד לחשם. And you shall set it before the parochet, which is the veil, which is before the ark of the testimony, and it shall be before the parochet, which is before the testimony, where I will meet from you there. So now we have inside what's considered the Kodesh, you have the Shulchan, which is you have the bread, and then you have the menorah, and then you have the altar of incense, which will be directly before the parochet. Verse 7. وهكتير على أهرون كتورة سمين ببوخر وهتيبو את הנרות يقترن. And Aaron shall burn sweet incense upon it morning by morning when he comes to dress the lamps he shall burn them. So the Hativo and the Ha'adot was used when you actually put the fire on the lamp. Hativo here is talking about when he comes in the morning, because we know in the morning they put it out. And so that's when they begin to burn the incense. Verse 8. הוא והעלות אהרון את הנרות בין הארבעים יקטרן כתורת תמיד לפני אדוני לדורותיכם. And also as he comes into light the lamps in the evening, he shall burn this incense. It is a continual incense burning before Adonai throughout your generations. So he lights it in the morning as he puts the light out, and he lights some more in the evening as he puts the light or the fire on the menorah. Verse 9. Lo fa'alu alau ketoret zara وعلا ومنحا والنيسخ lo فسخوا alau. And you shall not offer upon this altar, a strange incense. This is zara. This is the feminine form of zar, which we talked about earlier. The stranger, which will be someone not from the line of Aaron. Here we have this ketoras zara, which means strange incense. You have to use the incense that we know is described how to make it, and no one else is allowed to actually have any compound like that. And that's also no burnt sacrifice or even a meal, a mincha, shall be offered on it, or a drink offering, a nesech. A nesech is a drink offering, a libation. So you only burn the incense that God tells us how to make and form. That alone shall be burned upon it, nothing else. Verse 10. וכפר אהרון על קורנותיו אחת בשנה מדם חטאת הכיפורים אחת בשנה יכפר עליו לדורותיכם חודש חודשים הוא לאדוני. And Aaron shall make atonement upon its horns one time in the year from the blood of the sin offerings of the atonements. Okay? One time in the year he shall make atonement upon it throughout your generations. It is very sacred for Adonai. And that, my friends, is the end of Parashath Tetzawweh. So hopefully everyone was able to watch this till the end. Hopefully it'll be on YouTube. I don't know if it will happen with the Facebook. I apologize for that. But just as a reminder for those joining, this is my last broadcast for the weekly parasha. I'll no longer be doing this. Melech will probably continue to do that. That's his choice if he wants. I'm no longer going to do it. I have some other things I will be focusing on. So Nicola had one final question. Oh, so the correct reading there is that whoever is going to touch the altar must be holy. Yes, that will be my guess. Because we see the Torah explain that tameh, contamination from ritual uncleanness, is passed through touch. We never see where sanctity is passed through touch. And so that is the end of this parasha. I thank everyone for joining me here and the questions. And I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom for those who are still in Shabbat. A Shavua Tov for those who probably have finished Shabbat. And I will hope to see you guys around. You can always write me questions in Facebook, in YouTube, or email me. There's some people who may have my phone number. It's available also on Facebook. So you can contact me on Telegram or in WhatsApp, Signal, however you want. And I'll do my best to answer your questions. So, Shabbat Shalom.